In a recent interview, Republican Senator Marco Rubio would not rule out another run for president in his future. He said maybe it's 2 years or 4 or 6 or whatever it is. Who knows? Maybe it's 10 years in the future. But he doesn't know what the future holds, so he can absolutely not rule out another presidential bid, and by God, I hope it happens. Marco Rubio running for president, or at least being in the GOP primary in 2016, was probably one of the best things ever. Because before we even got to the 2016 primaries, we had the 2015 debates where the entire country got to see what an idiot Marco Rubio is. And the person who showed us what an idiot he is was none other than former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Now, I talk about this clip a lot, pretty much every time I talk about Marco Rubio, because this was really the moment where the entire country got to see that Marco Rubio is the dumbest member of the Senate. So in case you haven't seen it, folks, here it is. This is Chris Christie from 2015 absolutely ruining Marco Rubio's presidential bid. Take a look.
You see, everybody, I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him. See, Marco, the thing is this. When you're president of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person. They expect you to plow the snow. They expect you to get the schools open. And when the worst natural disaster in your state's history hits you, they expect you to rebuild their state, which is what I've done. None of that stuff happens on the floor of the United States Senate. It's a fine job. I'm glad you ran for it, but it does not prepare you for president of the United States.
Chris, your state got hit by a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You didn't even want to go back. They had to shame you into going back. And then you stayed there for 36 hours, and then he left and came back to campaign. See, those are the facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
The memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason why this campaign.
Wouldn't you like to see that happen again in 2024 or 2028 or even 2032? I know I would. Anytime that Marco Rubio gets embarrassed on national television, which sadly, that's not the first time and that's not the last time that Marco Rubio's embarrassed himself on national television. It's wonderful. Marco Rubio has been called a, quote, rising star in the Republican Party for 10 years now. And his star hasn't gone anywhere. It sure as hell is not rising anywhere. Because, as Chris Christie points out, the guy has like 30 seconds of talking points and then he just sounds like a rambling, bumbling idiot. Because that's what he is. And really, that's the best thing we could hope for with another Rubio run. The guy has no shot at being president of the United States, but he can at least along the way provide us with some good laughs and some good content for shows like this, right? But here's the thing. Rubio, before he can even think about running for president, he's got to get through the primary season for his re-election bid in 2022. And it is projected to be a very crowded field in the primary for his Senate seat down here in Florida. So anything could happen. He says he understands he's going to have some tough Republican challengers. And I think that might be what Rubio might be banking on. Rubio may not have to win that Senate seat in order for him to be able to position himself for a future presidential run. And if he was a competent lawmaker, that would actually work out in his favor. Here's why. Because he's going to have a lot of the Trump-like challengers in next year's election and primary. So if he were to lose that and basically, not be in the Senate anymore, he could position himself to where in 2024, he could come out, run for president, again, only if he was competent, so there's no threat of this actually happening. But he could say, listen, look how far they kicked me out of my seat, basically, for these nut jobs. And we need somebody like me who's just a common sense guy. But see, Rubio, that's the problem. That's the problem he would run into. One, again, not competent enough to pull off that talking point. But two, he doesn't really fit in anywhere in the Republican Party because he doesn't know who he is. He is whatever he thinks is politically expedient for him. He has been all pro-Trump. He has been the hardcore religious zealot who tweets out Bible verses that are completely contradictory to everything he's ever done in his political career. And people see him as a fraud. They see him as a windsock, trying to measure which way things are going so he knows what to do that particular day because that's the only thing he knows how to do. He doesn't fit in with the hard right Trumpers. He doesn't fit in with the traditional Republicans who just want to be evil because he hasn't basically picked a lane. So nobody trusts him. Nobody likes him. And that was proven during the 2016 primaries where he won nothing. So yeah, Rubio, I can go ahead and predict your future for you since you say it's unclear. Even if you do decide to run for president again, I'm calling it right now, Marco Rubio will never be the president of the United States.